discussion session and learning more about the things that you're concerned about and what you want to hear from us. But just to give you a little bit of information, Susan has outlined very well what we do as an organisation and how long we've been in existence. And I think one of the most pertinent facts, perhaps, is to talk about the number of women who experience domestic violence, because people very often think it's another woman, it's a certain type of woman. It cuts across every way you want to categorise people's social background, geographical age, etc. So just to give you a rough idea of what that means, if your birthday was on the 1st, the 6th, the 11th, the 16th, the 21st, the 26th, or the 31st, and you put your hand up, that represents the number of women who are experiencing domestic violence in Ireland now. And when you read research, that is very similar to any English-speaking research that's available to us. So it's a hugely significant number of women, and if you think of that number, then most of us are going to know not just one, but a lot of women who are experiencing that. And the women who are experiencing that, as Susan has given you an outline, it has been really difficult to get the kind of support and safety that they need in relation to that. And if you think of migrant women, it is so much more difficult. So even though immigrant women, in terms of the words escape me, but anyway, they represent 12% of the population. But the women who use our services coming from a migrant background would be about 30%, and they have a whole range of additional difficulties. So one of the things that has been really important is we have been able to actually address the issue of language, because that is such a fundamental barrier. And if you think of an issue, all of the issues that we're talking about, and particularly I think in Ireland, but maybe I'm wrong in that, is we're mired in secrecy and shame. So instead of the abusers feeling ashamed, the victims feel ashamed. And what does that do? It silences them. So what we need to do as women who are working in the area and women who want to support this is to stand in solidarity and to make it so much more easy for women to talk about it. We know from research that a third of women who are abused will never tell anybody about it. And of the women who do tell somebody, it's most likely a friend and a family member. And we're all friends and family members with women, so we need to be doing more to make that easier. So one of the things that Women's Aid has been really keen to do for a long number of years was to make our services available in a variety of different languages. And as Susan has said, on our website we have 7 languages that were translated. And then in addition, last year we got funding from the Women's Fund, and we've been looking for that funding for 5 years, so I think it's quite significant that we only got it from a Women's Fund for women who understand the importance of this. So now our helpline is available in 170 languages. And that means that immediately we're much more accessible to women who need our help. So the very first call that we got from the woman who spoke Albanian. Now, in anything I've never read anything about Albanian women in Ireland, so you can see that if you provide a service, it's so important that you're accessible. And I'm just going to tell you a very short little story about one of the women who was one of our early callers, who was a woman from China. She had married an Irish woman, because another common misconception is that abuse again happens to other women, that it's men who do it, or some sort of other men. She married an Irish man, so it's important for Irish people to realise that Irish men are abusive. It's not just migrant men, it's not just traveller men, it's not just any other sort of men. And she came to Ireland, and within 6 months the abuse had started. It was horrific. She knew nobody. She had very poor English, she had no contact, and somehow she found our helpline and she got through. And within a couple of days we were able to support her, to get her into refuge, to accompany her to court, to get the kind of legal protections that she needed. But they're the kind of fundamentals that lots of women need, but for women who are migrants, not to be able to speak about it, and even if your English is okay, if something hurts so deeply, it's so much easier when it's hard to talk about it in your mother tongue. And that's something that is really important. So I think that in terms of the positive things, that has been a huge thing. Women's Aid is very proud of the fact that we've been able to do that, and particularly in the recessionary times. And it has given a real boost to all of the staff who work in the area to know that we are more accessible now. And Also, we know that our helpline is very much a lifeline, so very often what we will do in a situation like this is to ask all of you, I have this card for our helpline, to put your number in our number in your mobile phone. You never know when somebody you know and care about is going to need it. It's on our website, but it can be so helpful and make such a difference. And then the other question we were asked to consider is, what are the things that need to be done? But unfortunately that list is very long, and it's very hard to know what to kind of prioritise in relation to that, particularly to particular audiences. But I think one of the things that's really fundamental is very often, again, people tend to minimise domestic violence. They tend to think it's just a push and a shove. But we are dealing with women who are living with the threat of death for themselves and their children on a daily basis very often. So we need systems put into place by our government that address that put in risk assessment into place, put risk management into place to ensure the safety of those women and children. So I'm going to finish with that, because I know we're all tight on time and I look forward to our